All right. Hello, everyone. So today we are going to talk about our topic 7 vocabulary. So there's quite a bit of it in this section. So I just wanted to go over some before we started anything, just so that when we get to like the meat of these items, it's not going to be too hard to understand what's going on. So, let's start with our very first word. Our very first word is going to be coefficient. So this is actually a word that we've had in the past in our glossary. And we're going to use it again. I just wanted to help you guys remember how to do this and review what we talked about. So a coefficient is going to be a number that is multiplied by our variable. Cool. So an example of a coefficient would be like 3x, where the 3 is the coefficient. Or let's say 4y squared. The coefficient in this one would be the 4, because it's being multiplied by the variable. Or let's say if we had something like this, a little bit more complicated, the number out front would still be our coefficient. So that's something that we could kind of put off to the side, like, or the number in front of the variable. Either of those will work as our definition here. It's just going to mean whatever number is at the front of your variable. Cool. So moving on from coefficient, let's talk about exponents. Now, exponents came up in our last topic. Once again, this is just kind of a review of these words, just so that we don't forget what they are. For exponent, let's say that's going to be the small number in superscript. When I say superscript, I mean that it's above all of the other numbers. So like if we had x squared, that little 2 would be the exponent. Or if we had 3y to the 5th power, that 5 would be our exponent. Or we could do 4x minus 1. We'll say that's squared. That little squared would be our exponent. So that's our next word. All right, move right along. Let's go to our next word here. This one's going to be new to us. It is constant. Constant. So a constant will be a single number. So that means the number does not have an x attached to it. So it's just going to be a number. So let's say like 25. That's a constant because it's just by itself. It is all alone, nothing attached. Another example could be like x plus 4. Well, there is an x involved in this expression, but it is not attached to that 4. So the 4 would be the constant here. Or let's say we had like x squared plus 3x minus 1. The only thing that doesn't have a variable on it is going to be this minus 1. So that's your constant. Okay, so all of these three are going to refer to numbers. Coefficients are the number on the outside or in front of the variable. Exponents are going to be the little number that's in superscript, or constant is going to be just a single number by itself. These are all referring to numbers. So the next thing on our list here is going to be referring to an expression. This is a polynomial. This is a big word. This is what our whole section is based on, so we kind of really need to know what a polynomial is. That is going to be a sum or difference with multiple terms. So, polynomial, a sum or difference with multiple terms in it. So when it says sum or difference, it means plus or minus. So this is a plus or minus expression with a lot of different terms in it. Now, depending on the term, there's going to be a different name for it. So let's say we have 4x. This would be one term. There's one piece to this. So we'd say that's one term. If it only has one term, that is going to be a monomial, meaning it only has one piece to this puzzle, but that is still going to be under our umbrella term of polynomial. Okay, well, let's say we have two terms. Let's say we have something like x plus 7. We have one term there. These are two terms. To show the different terms, they are going to be separated by either a plus sign or a minus sign. That's how you tell how many terms you have. If we have two terms like this one, this will be a binomial. Okay, well, let's go even further. Let's say we have something like this. Okay, I see a minus and a plus here, so that means that I have 1, 2, 3 terms here. 3 terms. Each one is separated by that plus or minus. If we have 3 terms, that will be a trinomial. Okay. Well, we could go even further than that. Let's say we have something like this. Let's say we have something like that. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. If you have anything more than 3 terms, it will just be a polynomial. So all of these would be considered polynomials. The only difference is this subterm, depending on how many you actually have. So one term would be a monomial. 2 terms would be a binomial. 3 would be a trinomial, and anything above 3 terms will be a polynomial. But they all fit under this definition. They are a sum or difference with multiple terms. As you can see, there's no division signs or times signs or anything like that. You just have plus or minus. Okay, cool. And like I said, our whole unit is going to be based on these, so these are what we're going to talk about for most of our topic. Okay, I have one more new word for us, and that is going to be degree. Degree. The degrees are not going to be talking about temperature in this case. The degree is going to be the highest exponent in the polynomial attached to a variable. Now that's a really big part of this, is the attached to a variable part. So when we think about degrees, there are also going to be different names for different degrees. So let's say we had a polynomial that's just a number. Let's say that number is 7. If we have something like this, remember in that definition it says that it's attached to a variable, but there's no variable here. It's just a number. So remember, if you have just a number, that was called a constant. This is going to be a polynomial with a 0 degree, and we're just going to call that a constant because it's just a number. There's no variable, there's no x, there's no y, it's just a number by itself. So that's going to have a 0 degree, and it will be called a constant. But what if it does have a variable in it? Let's say we have 4x. Well, if we have something like that, I'm going to look at the exponent that is on this number. There's nothing here. So remember, if there's nothing there, we could just say that's a 1. This will be a 1 degree polynomial, and we call that a linear polynomial. It is linear if it has 1 degree, and that 1 degree comes from our exponent up here. That's why it has our exponent in there. Well, what if we have something bigger than that? What if we have 3x minus 1? Okay, so I'm looking for the degree. Remember, that's going to be whatever your exponent is, the highest one. So we got 2 degrees. That is going to be a quadratic equation, or a quadratic polynomial. And that's just because it's got that 2 on the end there. So this is what I was telling the class earlier, is that if we have, or sorry, for the rest of the semester, we're going to be talking about quadratic polynomials and quadratic functions. That's going to be what we talk about for like basically the rest of the year. At the beginning of the year, we were doing linear stuff, but we are graduated past that, and we're going to move on to quadratic equations and such for this next semester. But yeah, so this was all of our new / reviewed vocabulary that we talked about in class. If you have any questions, please let me know. I think that is all I have for you. All right, bye.